everybody, this is Robert. I hope you can hear me. There's a little bit of wind noise in this car. Trying to change up the style a little bit as far as we're used to. So this is a 2003 Chevy Corvette Z06, or some people say Z06, interchangeably. Anyways, picked this up. I'm actually going to get rid of it only because it's a two-seater. And I've had a few two-seaters out there. I've actually had 4 S2000s. Yeah, first was an AP2, and the next 3 were AP1s. The last one being a supercharged AP1. So I wanted to talk about this car a little bit, and then talk about the comparison between this car and the S2000. So a lot of people are going to say, you know, actually the guy I'm selling his car to, he was like, hey, I'm looking at S2000 also, and I gave him my opinion. So an S2000, it's a fun car. Prices have gone down right now for higher mileage cars. They're Hondas, so they're pretty reliable. They have some quirks, but overall it's a really reliable car. The Chevys, GM cars, they're just as reliable because the block, the engine, it's pretty tried and true, based off old pushrod technology. It's been out for decades. Honda, you know, it's dual cam. The one thing I do like about Chevy cars or any V8 car, obviously it's a bigger engine. You know, you can have more displacement. There's an old saying, there's no replacement for displacement. There is sometimes if you have boost, nitrous, etc., you know, some kind of power adder. But if you're going to any motor, and any 4, no matter how powerful it is, naturally aspirated and built well, like I used to have an ITR, integrity type R for a little bit, and obviously the S2000, horsepower per cylinder, it's proportionally awesome, it's great, but the torque is not there. So one of the most important things is torque, and this is what this car's got. So this car is rated at 405 horsepower at the fly, at the crank, and 400 pounds of torque. The S2000, it's what, 240 estimated horsepower at the fly, and I forgot the torque, 130 maybe, 140. It's pretty low, and to get that peak torque, you gotta really wind it up. With this kind of car, you don't need to wind it up. You got torque at, I don't know, 2,000 RPM, maybe less, 1,500 RPM. It's a 5.7 liter called LS6. It's like I said, it's old tech, but this car, because of the chassis, I mean the chassis on this car is only less than 3,200 pounds. Everything's been weight reduced. So if you look at, like I looked up this information, I didn't even know this car weighs, like I said, less than 100, a little bit less than 3,200 pounds, which is super light. This is an 03. Obviously because it's also a fiberglass body, so fiberglass is going to be lighter. But the windshield is actually thinner on the Z06 than a regular Corvette. This being a fixed roof, the fixed roof came out, I believe, in 1999, maybe 1998, which is based off the convertible before it gets chopped. And with that, it's just lighter. It's actually the lightest in the hatchback. Some people prefer hatchback, which you see in the C6 Z06 and later. But the C5, this is pretty rare to have. If you look at the statistics as far as what's been produced, the Z06 has been produced the least of all the model types, convertible and the coupes. I guess they call them coupes versus fixed roof Corvette. Going back to my discussion, if you're shopping for a S2000 or a Corvette Z06, what do you choose? If you're worried about size, like you don't like a big car, S2000 is going to get it, right? It's a narrow car, it's a short car. It's a roadster, you can call it. You get a hardtop for it, so you can make it, you know, nice. Now, also, if you're a big guy, I'm not talking tall guy. I've seen tall guys maybe 6'4", 6'5", maybe can fit an S2K. I'm 6'1". I can fit an S2K, but it's still tight. Excuse me. The Z06, it's a lot more roomier. You get more shoulder space here. AP1s are actually tighter. AP2s, they gave a little bit more room for S2K for fitment. But it feels, when he's talking about cockpit type of feeling, the S2000 is definitely cockpit. If you're a wide guy, I wouldn't recommend an S2000, no matter what, because if you're a really wide guy, you're not going to fit in it comfortably, trust me. I used to try when I was actually chunkier, a little bit heavier, about 235, and it was tough. Right now I'm about 215, and it's still a tight fit. But so it's for, I guess, Japanese style size guys overall as far as daily comfort. Now power, I mean, Z06 has got the power, I mean, period. Of course you can boost an S2000. I had, like I said, a supercharger on mine. It didn't have a tune, it was a stock setup, the supercharger at the Comtech, but it was all top end. So the way the peak horsepower and the peak torque is, you have to run those cars up in high RPMs to really get the power you want. I mean, it's fun doing that, but if you want a daily drive, that's another thing. If you want a daily drive, the power band's not there. Some people can do it and they're used to it, and that's fine. I have a friend that has almost 200,000 miles or over 200,000 miles on his car, and he's daily drives it before. He likes it, but he's not daily driving it now. This car, you can daily drive. Suspension is really soft, but not too soft. I mean, the skid pad on this car that was tested was 0.98 G's on the skid pad, and this is again in 03. So can you imagine? I mean, a lot of cars now don't put on that kind of skid pad, not at all. You know, a skid pad's obviously just a regular test going in circles, but it's still going to prove as far as how much centrifugal force or handling it can take before it goes out into a slide. So, I mean, I can't remember what the skid pad is in S2K. I don't think it's 9.98. I will look it up and post in the caption here, just to be sure. But again, Z06, 0.98 test, almost 1 G as far as stock. Now, lower a little bit, put some stickier tires, because that's tech from 03. Tires have improved too from there, and you're pretty much done. I mean, this car I'm driving right now, it's basically stock. The only thing it does have as far as the modification is a skip shift eliminator. So what they did in order to save gas, GM decided to put skip shift or force you, if you're driving really slow, you're going to go from first gear to fourth gear. It tells you skip 1 to 4th gear. So that way you're not rolling through the 2nd and 3rd gear and wasting more gas and being at higher RPMs. But if you're cruising, it's still annoying. So that's what this car has. The intake is stock, exhaust is stock. One of the things I want to talk about is exhaust. It really sounds good. I mean, it's a titanium exhaust, so it's lighter, and it just has this really nice sound to it. So this car's got about 100,000 miles, and it just sounds great. Let me see if I can get some recording in here. I'm actually on the freeway going home, so there's gridlock, so I can't really rev it up too hard or fly hard down this freeway without, getting into an accident. But I mean, it really sounds good. The one thing about this car, and I don't know if you can hear it or catch it, there's a lot of road noise behind me. Being lighter, thinner glass, they took out insulation, put lighter insulation or something. So I get a lot of road noise in the back. I can hear the tires spinning. I can hear the roll of wind. In the rear, the front is pretty quiet. But the nice thing though is I also get to hear the exhaust more because it's in the rear. So I mean, right now I'm floating around 2,000 RPM in 4th gear, going 40, and it's got enough torque to go. Now, if you get this thing around 2,500, 3,000 RPM like 2nd gear, man, this thing just pulls and pulls and pulls. I don't even redline this car. It just pulls that much. You drive an S2000, it's gonna have to really rev up And if you have an exhaust or an intake, especially an open-end intake on S2K, it's going to catch a lot of attention. This car is basically a sleeper car unless you get like a yellow one, a yellow or a red, but this car is silver, so it's pretty downplayed. S2K you can get silver, which is basically the most common color, silver stone. But I think the cops look out for it too much. Maybe they had a little price-wise. So if you're looking for, you're comparing an 03, say 03, 04 Corvette Z06 versus an S2000, they're pretty much in the same price range now. If you get a super high mileage S2000, then it would be cheaper. I mean, you're getting around, you could find one maybe $7,000, but with tons of miles, maybe a worn out soft top, needs some cosmetic work, but still reliable as far as clutch and mechanical. But that's the same if you were to get a standard C5. Now, if you want a Z06 range with a lower mileage, I think comparing when I'm shopping, they're pretty close. Because if you want, you're probably going to get hard top on your S2K, to give it a different look. So cost-wise, I would go, it just depends. So miles per gallon, a lot of people think the 4-cylinder can save gas, and yes, it can. It's also 6-speed. They're actually both 6-speed. They only come in 6-speed stick. They don't have any automatics, which is, fine. It wouldn't work with 4 power band. And MPG-wise, I think, surprisingly, the Z06 can get, I think, up to 30 miles per gallon highway if you're cruising in 6th gear. So don't think, being a V8 is just going to kill your gas, your pocketbook. It's not just all that. It's about so being a V8, it depends how you drive, but like anything, it's going to consume any gasoline. So whether it's a V8 or a 4-cylinder, a straight 4 or a straight 6, it just depends on your driving style. That's going to hurt it. I mean, unless it's like a boosted V8 with a high pressure fuel pump or a couple fuel pumps, you're not going to waste that much gas just idling or anything. Handling compared to the two. S2Ks, later models had traction control, if I remember, later AP2s. But the earlier models, especially looking to be on the budget, they don't have any traction control whatsoever. I believe the S2K is VSA as far as the button. This has traction control, what they call active handling traction control. So it's on most of the time unless you want to turn it off. I don't recommend you turning it off until you really, really know your car, especially if you're coming from a front-wheel drive car. A lot of guys from the S2Ks or the Honda guys, they buy S2000s, Civics, they're from Civics. They decide, hey, I'm going to go to S2K, they're more affordable. They don't realize, snap oversteer, how rear-wheel drive works. It's not the same. I think it's a better handling car if you know what you're doing. If you don't know what you're doing, then it's not. It's just like watching these Mustang guys on YouTube and other viral social medias about them crashing. I mean, obviously they're not meant to do it on purpose, but they've done it. I think one guy with M4, he did the same thing. He turned off traction control, decided thinking he could go ahead and handle it, didn't handle it. He ate some serious shit. So don't want to do that. It makes sense, That's why I was talking about horsepower. You only can have so much horsepower in a turn. Straight line, sure, you can have 1,000 horsepower. That's okay, especially with good sticky tires. But when it comes to driving in a curve, you can't have that much. There's this limit that you can do it. It's just the way it is. All-wheel drive, don't get too confident on all-wheel drive. All-wheel drive will save you to a degree, but it's not going to save your life if you're just stupid. I used to drive an Evo 10, and that's all-wheel drive, full-time all-wheel drive. It's a good car, it's a race car, or what it was. But, it'll save your life to an extent. But, if you're just stupid and do stupid things, you're just going to be on YouTube, getting laughed at, thinking, what an idiot, and hopefully that's all you get is laughed at. You know, nothing serious with that. Okay. So look wise, S2000 is definitely a roadster look. It's a classic roadster look. They actually came from. I mean, it looks. Miatas have that roadster look. Jaguars, Alfa Romeos. There's a lot of cars that have that kind of roadster look, and it looks good. Corvettes, I think, look good too. They have, you know, they've been out since the 50s with the first generation, and they've changed everything. And I think the styling, some people might think it's outdated, but S2000 could be outdated too. You know, some people say it's, you know, eternal beauty, or some people just say it's fugly and just old. But I have the beholder, right? So it would just depend on what you're thinking as far as that. That's just curb appeal. Some people think a S2K could be a girl car because it's small, like a Miata. Some people think, you know, hey, you know, it looks pretty manly. Corvette, some people think it's for old white guys, and a lot of times it is. And one thing that's so funny is that the step in or step out of these Corvettes are pretty low. It's pretty hard to get out. I mean, I'm not, you know, that old. I'm not that young, but it's still pretty hard to get out of this car. I think it's because of the step in or the high door jam. But S2Ks are not that easy to get out too, especially if they're low rate. But like I said, they're both fun cars. Can't go wrong. Just depends on what you're looking for. Noise level. S2000, very noisy car. Convertible. I mean, the top is only one layer of top vinyl, which has this, you know, caveats a bit about wearing out. This is a hardtop, permanent hardtop, fixed roof Corvette, FRC they call it. And like I said, noise level, it's got thinner glass, less insulation, etc. Still a lot quieter than an S2K. An S2K with a hardtop, you say, oh, I'll put on a hardtop, it'll cut down the sound. It'll cut down the wind noise, but if you have an exhaust, it just starts to boom up from the floor because there is no insulation on the floor, and it just echoes in there. So that can bother you. So it depends on your level of tolerance as far as noise. I got tired, you know, driving the S2K as far as a daily driver. I was tired, you know, not because of the clutch, not because of shifting. The shifter is one of the best shifters you can get, and nobody, hands down, says this insurance. So insurance wise, you know, I'm an older guy, so when I compare insurance, either car doesn't affect me, but I believe the S2000 a little bit more because it's classified as a convertible. This is not a convertible, so I notice it's pretty cheap overall compared to what the S2000 was. So insurance-wise, it doesn't bother me, but you younger guys definitely get a quote before that, so you won't have a heartbreak or surprise on that. Like I said, reliability on this car. Both cars, they're going to be reliable. Fixing, you know, repairs. If you're a DIY guy, you know, that can do basic stuff, both cars are going to be fine. Anything you can find on YouTube or the forums to do any type of repairs or maintenance, you know, you can find it and you can take care of it. I think the Z06 does have a couple spots that are kind of hard to reach, but, you know, they're not undoable or impossible to do. This might be tedious, but trust me, American and Japanese cars are going to be much easier to work on than German cars. I've got a few German cars, and talk about the unintuitiveness of a German car as far as how to take things apart or get things fixed. You know, that's why the German mechanic labor rates are much higher, much higher. I'd say double, up to double or more than the Japanese mechanics or the American domestic mechanics who work on those cars. So that's another thing you could think about is reliability. So when I'm looking at all those points together, to me, I'd go Corvette if you're gonna do that. Second gear, So I was going 40, and then from 40 I was already going 70, and it just pulls. I mean, it pulls and pulls and pulls, and you can hear that exhaust. It's a stock exhaust making that rev. I mean, it just sounds really good. You know, it's that, like I said, it's a titanium exhaust, and man, you know, for stock, this is badass. Now, if you want to mod it power-wise, pop in an intake, pop in a cam, maybe long tube headers. Long tube headers will make it not smog legal though, so be careful with that part. But a cam and an intake and a tune, it's gonna get a lot more power. I mean, the reviews I've been saying about this motor, they said it's an LS6 motor. Later on in the newer Corvette, the C6 Corvette, not the Z06, in the C6 model, they had an LS2 motor, which is a 6 liter? Yeah, 6 liter motor. This is a 5.7, but I mean, they're saying that has more torque or whatever, but I'm sure it does. But I mean, this one's not, you know, no joke as far as power. It's just, it's badass. You know, so I've been looking like actually at CTSVs in the first gen with the same motor, and they asked the later models had LS2s, but the problem is that their rear ends suck. They have no traction. They start to slip. I mean, I'm not a drag racer. I don't drag off the line. I don't roll race. I don't do any of that racing. I'm just an enthusiast that likes to drive fast sometimes and enjoy a great car and handling. And what the problem is with those cars is that traction. I know the LS2 models, they actually beefed up the rear end better, so they actually wouldn't bust, break, and cause issues as far as driving, and then boom, you're done. You can't drive anymore because you broke your stuff back there, which is, you know, end of days. So going on those kind of cars, if you look into sedans with the same horsepower, I mean, weight makes a difference. I mean, I don't know how much those cars weigh, 4,000 pounds, 800 pounds more than this car. And that 800 pounds, you know, it slows down the car. It's still going to be a fast, torquey car. It's just not going to be measured as fast. These Z06s, if I remember right, the 0 to 60 was 4.2, I think. Excuse me. So these Z06 cars, the quarter mile on a stock car with a perfect driver can actually go under 12s, which is amazing. This is again 2003, 2002, 2004. I mean, these guys were with a perfect driver or a really good driver get under 12 seconds in a quarter mile. I mean, people are happy to get 13 seconds on some cars now in 2017, and now 2000, you know, early 2000s were 8, 9, 10, 11 years ago, this car was still pulling 11s, high 11s, and it still can, and I believe it, you know. S2K, S2000 not going to pull that kind of power. So anyways, daily driver, Z06 gets it, to my opinion. It's just more fun. You can pull past cars without downshifting too much. Pulls and pulls and pulls, you know, with any motor, stock motor, you know, can't get 400 horsepower on S2000 easily. Then with S2000, you won't have the same torque. This is 400 pounds of torque. You can't get an S2000 without a tremendous amount of booster power. So again, trying a different format, kind of, you know, see if you like it. Let me know. Give me some feedback. Let me know how, what you think about everything, or what you think about my videos. I appreciate you watching. You know, tell your friends. My plan is to record other cars that I drive, record my friends' cars. Hopefully they let me drive. Some of them might not. Some of their friends have nice cars. Doubtful they'll let me drive, but it'd be nice. So stay tuned. Thanks.